Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by Pocketjack Comics. And they right now have a Kickstarter going on where they're offering a sexy limited edition swimsuit cover. On Kickstarter, there's only 100 of them made. Very cool book, very, very rare book. It's going to be a sweet one. And then there's some other cool exclusives as well. It's part of, I think, Make 100. So obviously go check that out. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you like bad girl art. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator and writers Mike and Mindy Wheeler. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks.
Hello. Glad to be back.
No. I'm very excited because obviously you guys have Trip Story going on. It's fully funded on Kickstarter. I think it's like 3,000% funded. And so it's very cool in that regard. And before we get into the weeds of this entire comic, and we're going to dive into some cool stuff with it, what is the basic premise of the book?
It's
the basic premise is fun with weed. That's really what it is, man. It's a parody comic about a bunch of toys that come across a half-smoked roach in a teenager's bedroom and just go to town and just take part in some afternoon delight. And then it's really cool too, because they end up going on this quest and it's like a struggle to come back to reality. And then the ending is pretty good too. So, I mean, I don't want to spoil a lot of it because, it is on Kickstarter. And if I sit here and I tell you about the whole dang story, no one's going to buy the book. So I want people to actually buy the book and read it and enjoy it.
So it's an ongoing series too. So it's ongoing, and each book will have
an issue 2 is already planned out. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Can you say cocaine Batman? I can.
So
looking forward to that.
I want to dive into this a little bit, and we're not going to ruin too much of this, but obviously it's a parody. And obviously, I don't know much about weed culture. It's not my thing. I'm not anti-weed culture. I prefer just to have a beer, and I prefer drinking culture. But I know that there are people who really, really enjoy comic books that deal with weed. Obviously, there's been plenty of movies. There's a movie called Jay and Silent Bob. And obviously, those two characters are really big into that. And so what is this like? Because there is an audience for this. I rarely see any comics nowadays, and maybe it's just my circle, I don't know, that deal with this, but it is touching a niche. It is fun. And I think there's a lost, forgotten rule in comics that they're supposed to be fun and they're supposed to entertain me, because I buy a comic not so you could tell me your award-winning story, but I want to escape from whatever difficult day I had for 20 minutes. And so what is this like? Because I think you guys are hitting a niche that
it takes me back to my childhood. Kind of. I was a huge pothead in high school. I loved it. And it was fun. I mean, my first the very first concert I went to was a concert. It was a Bush concert. Goo Goo Dolls opened, and I was stoned off my mind by the time I got out of that fucking show. I was like, what is this they're passing around? It's fantastic. Obviously, I'm married. I have kids now, and I don't do this shit anymore. I'm straight edge. I'm clean. Well, I'll enjoy the occasional adult beverage, like everybody else. But I've been pitching clean for 18 years. So, but it does bring me back, and I do have a frame of reference as to what stuff like this is like. So it's fun going back and reliving those memories and writing stuff that sort of happened to me or may not have happened to me back in the day.
I'm not a pothead either. I don't smoke, but a lot of people do, and I think that you can enjoy the story even without smoking too. So it's a funny story. Mike brought it to me. It's Mike's idea, and this is all 100% him. And it's been really funny to work on it. We've had a blast. Trey, the interior artist, we've all just laughed a lot about it, making it, enjoying it, because comics should be fun.
Because there's the thing that I think is interesting is that obviously comics have gotten out of this narrow pigeonhole. So initially, comics, or the short version of this, I guess, question is that it was superheroes. It was sort of everyday life. Then it became superheroes, and then it became sort of everyday life, and then a bunch of niche stuff, and then it came back to superheroes. And now with indie, there's a niche for everything, and so there's a whole community that really enjoys weed culture, enjoys weed comics, and that's where I think this is so interesting, is that this hits that niche, because that's a long, I guess, forgotten component, and you guys are kind of touching upon that. There's something else that, Trip Story, I don't think I need to make and spell it out for everybody what it's a reference to. Hopefully that too is kind of a legacy property. And so what is this like? Because a bunch of fun stuff can now happen with this, and that's what's so cool about this.
Yeah, and there's going to be like a whole line of merch that can spring up from it as well. T-shirts, action figures, all kinds of stuff you can do with this stuff, and it's all on parody basis. So, I mean, it's totally legal, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun taking things and throwing your own vision behind it and kind of seeing where it goes. And it's not just weed that we're going to touch on. I mean, every single book we're going to introduce a new drug, like every issue. Like I said, issue 2 is going to be about cocaine. We might throw some Jack Sparrow in there and talk about alcohol on issue 3. We might get Ozzy and do some heroin issues on issue 4, like Chasing the Dragon, have Bruce Lee in there, there's all so much stuff you can do with all these toys and action figures. It's just a lot of fun. It's like playing with toys if you were a kid again, it just brings back good memories.
Yeah. Let's actually talk about fun and having a blast and playing with memories, because I think some of your rewards really touch upon that. And obviously this is one of the first covers, and obviously it's a reference to, Toy Story. And so this is kind of the thing too that I think is interesting, is that obviously this is Bud's Lightyear. And so what is this like? Because when somebody comes and sees this, naturally it's going to evoke emotion, because people love Toy Story. I'm 30. I went to go see Toy Story 4, and I was in college, and I had a blast with my friends, and I've seen Toy Story 3. I cried at the end of 3. I was I'm an adult, and I'm man enough to admit that I cried at the end of 3. And I know everybody else did too. So what is this like to have this as a really cool cover, kind of just the, I guess, cover
I think
A?
Anthony knocked it out of the park right there. I mean, he did a really good job. That's by graffiti artist Anthony Apodaca. He's out of LA. I think he lives in Denver now. And I really loved his tagging style. And come to find out, he could actually draw too. So I was like, I've got to get this guy on a cover, because I want this first book to be gangster as fuck. And I like just straight gangster. And you can see that from the intro video. Maybe we can play it here in a little bit. It just gets that vibe going, and it takes you back to 90s rap, and just it just brings everything together. I mean, I think it's a fantastic property.
Let's actually talk about
love
that.
the 90s too. I mean, the older I get, the more I love and miss the 90s. Really. The music, the culture, just people were better, nicer, happier. Everything was so much better in the 90s. So Mike was showing me all these songs, like, look at this rap song, look at this rap song. We were working on the intro video. We're like, yeah, that's some good 90s music right there. Fun, nostalgia.
So let's actually talk about that, because I think this is something that in Kickstarter is, sometimes people do it well and sometimes people do it really bad, is that you got to come out swinging on your first issue. I mean, I hate to say this, but you got to pull out all the breaks. Now, I'm not saying have every single thing in the kitchen sink in your issue, but I feel like the book to have a bunch of variants on and have the best art on and push forward and really push forward the best foot. And if you're going to spend the money to have a high-end variant, it should be on issue 1. And I think sometimes people, I mean, I haven't done a Kickstarter for a comic, but I would imagine that you kind of have to make me stop. And obviously, I've only shown one cover, but this is going to make me stop initially. And there's several others. And what is that like? Because I think that's a real problem right now, is a lot of people don't know how to come out swinging on the first one. And they need to say, cool, I need 6 or 7 covers that are going to make people stop. Not necessarily even expensive covers, but something that's different. Because I hate to say this, I go through a bunch of Kickstarters and I'm like, I don't want to back 90% of them because you didn't make me stop. And it's a real problem because I'm a consumer and I want to spend like $300 every single month. And sometimes I don't spend any money on people's campaigns because I'm like, this doesn't look good and it doesn't make me stop. And so what is that like? Because a bunch of your covers, which I'm going to show in a second, a few more of them, at least make me stop.
We've had a lot of experience laying out and designing different covers over the last few years. And I mean, we've kind of gotten good at knowing what's going to be a hit and what's not. And we're quick to move away from stuff that's not. You know, the original cover that I had in mind, Mindy tossed it out because she said, no, this is shit. And I thought it would have been awesome because it had a big old dog dick on it. I thought it would have been great. I was like, you know, you could paint the little tip red and it'll be fantastic. People will be like, look, this guy's crazy. He fucking put a dog dick on a cover. But that didn't work out. So she kicked that to the curb.
And there goes my sponsor for next week's episode.
I think, okay, I'll stop right there. I agree with everything Mike said. And I don't want to interrupt his thought completely, but the ability to, I think things, like to have the imagination to think about things that make people stop is part of it, like what Mike just said. And Mike and I like to be a little out there and a little punchy, and I think that's part of being creative. So I say part of that is just internal. And then what Mike said carries into your experience of knowing from years of selling fan art and, you know, drawn pieces and commissions. You get kind of a taste for this will sell, this won't, and here's why. So sorry, Mike, continue. You just threw me off there with
let me ask a follow-up to that, because I've also noticed, and this is just my experience selling books on eBay, selling Pop Funkos. Every once in a while, you get what is known as a sleeper, where it doesn't do well in a store or it doesn't do well on Kickstarter, but then 6 months later, it's the cover everybody wants, or maybe it was just in the wrong environment. Because that's
like
the other
my
thing
Alex
too.
Jones variant on boobs too. Yeah.
Because that's my experience sometimes with certain books, is that I'll pick up a book for $20 and then all of a sudden it goes to $200 and everybody's like, oh man, I missed that. And there's only 45 of them in the world. And I really want it now. And oh, I realize what it is now. And I realize that this is actually the best cover, because I've been in situations like that, both on a Pop Funko level, on just an autograph, on cards, on a bunch of stuff. And it's very weird because sometimes Kickstarter isn't the right environment. So even when you're building out a cover, I feel like, you know, obviously this is just one of them. This might do okay on Kickstarter, but if you go to a con, this could be the #1 seller. And so it's a very weird thing, because I think sometimes people only think that Kickstarter is the box, when in reality there's cons, there's comic shops, there's the internet stores, there's the eBay stores. And I feel like sometimes you might not even necessarily design a cover for Kickstarter, because there is a market after Kickstarter. And I think I see that mistake.
You got to make sure that you're not just putting out a whole bunch of cheesecake stuff, because a lot of the shows, they're family friendly and they don't let you put that stuff out front on your table. So you need to make sure that you have some quality, top-notch covers that don't show that stuff, that you can put out there that'll attract the attention of the kids and the parents and stuff, and make them come to your table. And then have the parents say later, you know, when the kids kind of start walking away, what else you got in the back? Yeah, that's kind of the goal, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's good to also, when you have an idea, like Mike had this idea for Trip Story, and it's such a it's such a great concept. So the covers are a really good way to express the concept from all different points of views. And I think just having multiple covers with all those perspectives help a consumer look at the campaign or look at all the covers and say, "Oh, I get the vibe of what this is about." I think it's a mistake to not do that. And some people advocate for that. I don't know who they were, but there was some people on YouTube a while back, Mike, and they were talking and they were like, "Oh, I think I'm only going to do one cover." And I don't know what their reasoning was, but that's a mistake, I think, definitely. If you want to make money, you don't just make one cover. You can't capture all of the angles of that concept in one cover. And people like we can tell from our customers, different covers will be catered to different customers. We will know in advance, we know this person's going to buy this cover, because they like that character, they like the concept, and there's different stories in each of the cover. They like the girl, our character boobs, they're going to buy the boobs covers, or they like Gaylord von Schlauber, they're going to buy the Gaylord von Schlauber covers. And if they had boobs 3 and we didn't have a Gaylord cover, they'd be sad, because that's the character they follow, because they like that character. So it's sort of something you develop when you develop relationships with your customers too. You want to give them what they want, and you know what they want, and it's a mutual sort of relationship there, if that makes sense.
It does, in which that, I mean, look, I buy a lot of covers, and I just bought a whole print run, and I just bought this and holofoil out from Mount Olympus, so I own all 15 of those holofoils. I know the exact customer, which that I bought that, and I had a profile of who I developed, or I didn't develop the cover, but I have a profile of who this cover is going to go to, and it's going to go to somebody who likes, obviously, bagger art, but they like anime and they like holofoils. And that is a certain market. And I actually probably have a good economic picture of who they are and what they are exactly and what they enjoy. And the fact is that they probably don't buy many covers, but they buy the cover they want. And they're probably an anime comic hybrid fan. And so there's a reason why I bought that whole print run out. And I think it's very interesting when that happens. And so I completely understand it. I think sometimes people don't have profiles built for their customers. And I think it's a real issue right now. When we look at people who are failing on Kickstarter, or they're only raising they wanted to raise 10, but they only raised 7. I think that's part of it. And I think it's a real problem in the industry as a whole right now. And I don't think it's getting any easier, because anybody and everybody's doing a Kickstarter now for their book. But I don't know.
You can't necessarily copy anybody else either. It's I don't know. I feel really fortunate. I feel like I've got a lot of experience doing marketing and art and talking to people. Mike and I come from a long background of that. So it feels so natural to think about my interactions with the people who buy our books. And so it's kind of foreign to think about someone who's totally new, totally green, hasn't done anything, hasn't done any covers, what I should tell them. But I would tell them also, you can't necessarily copy what you see everybody else do. You have to, it's sort of like coming into your personality thing. They're going to want to come to you because of what you offer them that's unique to you. So you can't necessarily say, Mike and Mindy's campaign did this, I'm going to copy this, and this, because it might not work for you. So new creators are going to have to navigate what makes them personally unique and bring that out in themselves and into their creations to be successful.
No, I don't disagree. And then obviously dive into more covers, because I like art, and obviously we have this right here, and I think that's a reference to Candyland. I think
it is a cross between Candyland and Chutes and Ladders, inspired by the Korn song Chutes and Ladders. I took the idea to Vic, and Vic knocked it out of the park. Vic King, he is a comic skate artist. He does Beowar. He's pretty popular on the live streams. He's always got a lot of people on his show, and he's always doing live sketches and stuff. But this is probably I'm probably most proud of this cover. I think he did a really good job, and this was a fantastic concept.
Yeah, Vic is a very talented artist, and we like to talk about art. he and I, when we have talked, we enjoy talking about painting. He's a former painter, and he's got a lot of talent. So this is one of my favorite covers as well. It turned out really good, Mike. It's awesome.
And your colors are fantastic on that. Like, I mean, that's 100% Mindy's colors right there.
It was fun to do.
And
Some pieces are harder to color than others, and some of them just come together really well. That was one that just fit. It was really good. I like that one.
And then diving
We're
further
proud of our work.
diving further into this, because this one, I don't. The art is okay. I'm gonna say that because that's not the real winner on this one, because the comic is scented, and I love scented comics. I know DC did something for Christmas with Harley Quinn one year. I just think they're funny. I think it's cool. I think it's a fun gimmick. I think, again, it goes back to making comics fun again, if that makes any sense. There's nothing wrong with the art on this, but that's not the reason why you're buying the cover. You're buying the cover because it's scented, and that's kind of the whole gimmick / the whole experience. And it brings it into, I guess what I'm saying is that it adds another sense to your reading experience, is the way I would put it.
Yeah, and that cover right there is by Andrew Thomas, and it is a homage to Detective Comics number 134. Andrew Thomas is pretty famous in the world of comics. He's one of the top, he's an award-winning letterer to start out, and also he was on Blunt Man and Chronic and Quick Stop Comics for Kevin Smith. So he brings that little stoner type edge and essence to the series, which is very much appreciated. And it's an aged cover. It's meant to look aged, and it's a really, really, really good homage to Detective Comics 134.
I know, it looks dope. It looks dope. And then obviously this is my favorite cover out of the bunch, because I am a sucker for action figure covers. I love what Adam Riches did with WWE and Boom Studios. I love what I think it's JTC does, John Tyler Christopher, I think does the Marvel stuff, and I love those. And then I had Blair.
This was 100% Mindy.
Yeah. Well, I used Anthony Apodaca's profile there, but yes, I did design this and make this, and it was fun. And the straight out of Gary and the detachable smoking joint is just so funny.
So let's actually talk about this, because what is this like? Because this adds a different element. There are people I know who all they do in comics is collect action figure covers. So they're action figure collectors, and they say, look, I'm not a big comic person, but I really like that style because it looks cool. And when I put this up, people say, where can I buy that action figure? Because I put up action figure covers, and every time I do it on Instagram, there's always the wise person in my comments that says, where did you get that action figure? I'm like, it's a comic. You can find it for $4 on eBay. And like the person, and so like, what is that like? Because it definitely hits a niche, and it also makes it fun, and it's kind of cool to see these characters and what they would look like as an action figure versus just being a comic.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's one of our top selling, so people like it. This was our first action figure variant, and you're right, it's John Tyler Christopher. That's what Mike was. Mike was like, look at John Tyler Christopher's action figures variants. When we were talking about this before I made it, and I was familiar with the action figure because when Mike and I used to retail, we saw a couple, or we had some or something, and yeah, it is a niche, but the people who like it really like it. And there's a little bit of crossover between the toy world and the comic book world, so it's for them. and it's one of our most popular, so it does well.
And then we can't talk about this book without talking about this cover right here. And it's this one and then this one, and they're very similar. I'm not too. I think this is the movie variant, if I'm not mistaken, or a tribute to a movie poster.
Right.
And
that one there,
yeah.
That one there is The cover's done by Trey. He's our interior artist, and Mickey Clausen
Mickey.
did the he's the colors from Toy Story on Boom Studios. He did the colors on that one. The other one is the same line art by Trey, but Mindy's colors to make it more movie accurate.
Yeah, because there's a movie poster that's very similar to this. So it's supposed to be is it homage or homage? You said homage. A homage cover to the movie poster to bring the 90s nostalgia back. Yep. That's Trey's cover, and Trey is the interior artist. And we wanted to make sure he did a cover too, and he did a very good job on that. I think he really framed it well, and I love Trey, so I could say good things about Trey all day.
And then there's this one too, and I'm not too sure who this character is supposed to be, but I'm still very confused. I was about to set up a joke. Way to ruin my thunder, man. Way to ruin it.
That's done by Paul Sutton. He is a 3D modeler, and he does 3D and digital art. And he's worked for several big companies over in the UK that make boxes for certain toys.
He's a pro. He's a pro. Yeah, he knows the stuff.
So even to go into this, because obviously Barbie, whether you love Barbie, you hate Barbie, it's one of the biggest movies that has come out in 2023. It obviously has massive cultural relevance still. And this is kind of a fun, different take on a Barbie.
This cover was done back in March, before that movie came out, before I even knew they were making a Barbie movie. I had no idea the Barbie movie was even coming out. So it was just a happy circumstance.
Yeah, Mike is ahead of the curve on pretty much anything. That happens to him all the time.
Even to talk about that, because I've seen a bunch of Barbie covers, right? And everybody needed to have one. If you were doing a campaign and it fit, or even if it loosely fit, you needed to have one in 2023, because when that movie dropped and then when that movie came out on HBO Max, it's an initial double boost, for your sales naturally. And it's just an easy way how to get eyeballs on. But this is different. And I think this is something that's really interesting, is that it's cool because we all know it's Barbie, but this is massively different than every other Barbie cover out there. Not saying there's anything wrong with the other
It's done in the style of a toy.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit more, I guess, edgy, might be a nice way to put it, because she's doing something that is a little not so Barbie. Might be the way to put it.
She's partaking.
A lot of the Barbie, well, I think we all know that there was one Barbie cover that really focused on Margaret Robbie's exact likeness. But
I'm still sore from it. Why are you bringing up sore points for me? That almost cost me like $2,000. That whole cover. That almost cost me $2,000. Everybody.
Oh my god. That very. You're not. Anyways, I won't get into it. But like Mike said, that one. Now, see, for that one, my critique would be that there's not really a value in it besides, hey, just look at my boobs. And Mike's concept, I think, has more depth in it. It's the actual character is some bohemian hippie chick, and I think there's it's just a more round kind of development in the character there, besides just real shallow, I'm Margaret Robbie and I have boobs. That's the selling point of that cover, which I think crosses ethical boundaries and celebrity likeness, but I won't get into that. But I like our cover honestly better. I think it's just it's a little bit more mysterious, like you said. Like, it's got that edge. Who is this character? It leaves something to be wanted. And sometimes that's better than showing it all. And this is an awesome cover. It also does well for us. People really like it. They really dig it. So it was good, well executed, Mike, and Sutton did a great job. And we just released another Malibu cover as a sort of stretch goal kickoff just yesterday.
Badass.
Yeah.
Well, that one doesn't leave much to be mysterious.
Let's actually talk about that. because I don't have that one. I think that's the one that I forgot to add, or
I
it's
can.
an add-on, right?
If you share my screen, I can pull it up for you.
That's just for the purpose of being ridiculously,
Before, wait,
obnoxiously hilarious.
Mike, before you share it, just make sure that you only, if possible, show the one that's appropriate.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yep. There you
Because
go.
I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. I don't want to get in too much trouble on YouTube. I
Yeah,
don't think
it's fine, and everything on our Kickstarter is censored. But that's
YouTube's
it.
just looking for a reason, and so is Facebook to get me off. They're just looking for a reason. I promise. And so obviously what is that like too? Because obviously that is definitely playing to fan service. Obviously it's fun. It's kind of having a good time with Barbie. So and then also having the not safe for work stuff as well, where that is on the verge. That one, which is sort of the tame one, and then you have the complete not safe for work one, and then I think you have even one going further down, right?
Yeah, and it's blurred. I mean, I if you don't mind, I could show it. It's blurred.
I'd prefer if you didn't. You know,
He says no. Just leave it up there. I think the Malibu tattoo is the most hilarious thing about that whole cover.
Yeah, that Malibu stamp. That's good stuff.
I love it. It's funny.
My whole question is that in which I actually like when campaigns take a cover and then they have 2 or 3 versions of it where they have the regular, a risque, and then a full-on nude. And I think it's smart because obviously it doesn't cost more money or a lot more money to go riskier to complete nude, and you can get a lot more bang for your buck because you can have an upcharge for a fully X-rated cover and then a risque and then a regular. And people want all 3. People might want only one of them, and it's an easy way how to, I guess, get a upkick in a sale, for lack of a better word.
And people sometimes want that variety. It's all about knowing your customers again and just knowing what they like. And as you get more experience at putting out covers, you figure out more and more what they do like. So yeah, definitely. I think I really like all of our covers. I think we
You
did
guys
a
want
good
to check
job.
out the video? I can hit play on it.
I wanted to talk about 2 covers before you do it. So obviously you have a blank in there. And then that one's cool, and I don't think I need to explain why people would want a blank. And then the other one I want to talk about is this one. And so I think the video, because I have a question about the video and even that and what people first see. But what's the story behind this one? Because this one I didn't even know existed. Because I've been at work all day. I booked your interview legitly after the Eagles got beaten out of the playoffs last night. So I've been a little bit busy, and then I was at work all day, so I didn't even know this one existed. So what's the story behind this one?
Well, okay, well, a little bit of controversy. So, someone messaged me, and this is not on Kickstarter, by the way. This is on our website only, just as to keep it a little separate, since this is all happening sort of separate. Last night at about this time roughly, someone messaged me and said that they stopped being Facebook friends with Mike because his posts had too much drama, toxic / alpha masculinity. So then I said, okay, are you one of our customers, one of our backers, or in any fashion, are you a customer? He said, no, but we have Chuck Dixon on our friends list. We both do. And I said, okay. So how does this affect me? I'm sorry to say, but I'm not sure how this affects me. And he said, well, aren't you related to Mike? And I said, what do you expect me to do exactly about you finding his posts offensive? And he said, I was just informing you. Sorry to bother you. And
I said, tell her Mike said quit being gay. And she's like, I don't want to type it. I'm like, type it. And she's like, I don't want to hit enter. And I'm like, hit enter.
No, you said, say quit being gay. And you're right. I was like, and then I said, yeah, I'll make sure I say it's from you. Mike says quit being gay. And then he blocked me, and his name was Andy. And I posted about it on Facebook because our history in comics, this has actually happened to me a lot. And I'm not the only one. Okay. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not the only one. You can ask around. And it's happened to a lot of women, especially, but just couples where they'll get these nasty messages online, and it's like, your wife said this, your husband said this. And it's revolves a lot around the toxic masculinity thing or some kind of political thing, usually on that side of the aisle. And I went through this really bad with a publisher of mine in 2016, or I think it was 16. And I mean, it's just been following me this whole time. People, your husband has said it's too offensive, and it's, you know how divided people are and how political people are. And I can't. The thing about being a creator is you're never going to get anything done or create anything if you sit there and bother with censorship. This person hurt my feelings. I want you to go tell them to shut up. And it was all in the comic publisher scene. All the publishers were like that. You know, you can't say this, you can't say that. It's too offensive. We don't like this. And it was really one think or you get the boot. And that is destructive to creativity and speech and individuality and all that. So I'm not cool with that. I put that out there. I put it on Facebook, and I hope that's a lesson that no one bothers me about that again, because I really don't care. You know, people, if they don't like me, if they don't like Mike, they're happy to leave. But the expectation that I have to do something is a guilt trip that many people in comics have tried to put me through before, and I don't appreciate it. So anyways, I put this out there, and I said, you know, no thank you, please, people, don't do this to me, because that's what I like about Mike. I like Mike for Mike, and I think we don't need to do that. So I don't believe in that censorship crap. And then this variant came, so somebody said you should make a variant with Andy because his name was Andy. So there it is. That's the story.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we just we live life to the fullest, and we don't get bothered by
You
stuff.
remember
And if it
back
makes
in
the
the
laugh
day
goes,
when, you were on the playground and, you were with, your 5, 6 group of guys, and you guys were all like playing tetherball. And then there's some weird, weak little kid that comes up and like screws up and like hits himself in the face. And you just looked at him and you were like, dude, quit being a faggot.
Whoa.
And like you were allowed to tell people that. Like that was the thing. Like you just said, and it reset the kid. The kid's like, yeah, you're right. I'll stop being a faggot now. Like,
not meant to be some
when did that stop, man? Like some people just need to be told, quit being gay and fucking live your life, like
people were really like, wow, we got a big response about that post. A lot of people chimed in, and
yeah.
the overwhelming response was, why would you message someone's wife because you have a problem with how masculine her
I'm
husband
sorry,
is?
your husband makes me feel like a small man. Like, I mean, dude, quit being gay.
And the thing is, I have to tell people, I'm like, this is not the first message. People do this, and then other people who have been involved in creative projects and wrestling and a lot of the entertainment stuff say, yeah, this is a thing. I've got, my wife has gotten messages, about this too, and it's just ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. If you have a problem with someone, A, tell them to their face, and B, like, sort it out. Don't go to their spouse and complain about. It's just weird. Like, they expect me to, what do they expect me to do, scold him, and listen, Mike's gonna say what he wants to say. I'm not here to control him, and I think that's a manipulative way to try to control somebody you can't control. Oh, I know, I'm gonna go to their spouse, make them feel bad. So I don't believe in it. Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
It's interesting because I don't believe in shame culture. in which that, but I understand it's a fact, right? And I understand though that like the way I see things as well is that if you don't like what I produce, you don't like my show, don't watch it. Turn the channel to something else. And you know what it is? Maybe you like a particular interview I did, and you're like, cool. But if you don't like an interview that I did, so I'll give you guys an example, and I don't think you're gonna mind me saying this. If somebody hates the two of you and they like my show, don't watch this interview then. I don't know what to tell you. Don't watch the interview. I'm not going to go and not interview somebody because one person has a problem with them or 10 people. And I've gotten comments on these types of interviews that I've done, not just with you, but people who have had issues. And like, why are you interviewing them? That person's bad. And I'm like, I understand that you have a problem with said person, but I don't. And if you don't want to watch the interview, that's fine. If you want to unsubscribe from me, that's fine. You don't have to be here, but you don't get to tell me what to do. And,
Exactly.
it's the same thing that if I'm doing an interview and then my girlfriend, and then hopefully if she becomes my wife, if somebody goes to my wife and says, your husband sucked last night on the podcast, my wife's going to be like, that's a little weird. Like,
Yeah, and then what if they said to her, you need to tell him to do this, just so you know. I unsubbed from him last night because I didn't like his show. It's a bit catty. And I agree with you there. That's why I think a component of our magazine that's really fresh with Comics Illustrated is that you don't always have to agree with someone at all. You don't have to agree with anybody on anything. You don't have to believe what that person believes. You can still talk to them, and that's a key component in journalism. Is if everybody had to like who you were interviewing, then nothing would get done. You're supposed to, in fact, interview people of different perspectives and persuasions. Then you get a well-rounded perspective of something. So
Right.
yeah,
it's the same thing we do on
valid.
Comics Illustrated, man. We don't shy away from anybody. I mean, we have people of all types of persuasions and cultures and backgrounds and diversity, and it's an open door. Anybody can be a part of Comics Illustrated. We don't hold back. We don't judge. We don't say, oh, well, you're a member of this group, so you can't. Everybody's welcome. And it's just how it is. I mean, that's how free press and how free media works. You know, I mean, I might not agree with what you say, but I'll die for your right to say it.
And I mean, the tribalism isn't going to get any better if people don't think that way. You know, this tribalism stuff isn't healthy as a whole. For example, Mike and I don't like Comicsgate. I do not like Comicsgate. Vic associates with Comicsgate, but instead of focusing on that, he is a talented artist. Mike said, hey, this guy can draw very well. I think he would do a very good cover. And he hired him based on his artwork. And that's how it should be. That's the problem in comics. Our publishers caring too much about everything but the books. You should care about the books. If you want to make good books and have happy customers, you know, the customers have only said this for many, many years now, crying it all over the internet. They want people who make the books to focus on the books and less about everything else. So that's what we do. We focus on our creations and we make them the best they can be. And if that means hiring this person or that person or talking to this person and that person, then so be it. We get a well-rounded perspective and we focus on our books. And I mean, Eric Larson was in an issue of Comics Illustrated. We're on different political spectrums. We've had Tim Seeley. We've had Pat Shand. Like, if you're about indie comics, that's what's important. And people forget that. You know, people really forget that sometimes. So we don't, though. We don't forget.
It's interesting because I don't even know what Comicsgate is. I have no idea. Their branding has effectively confused the living fuck out of me.
They're an
you and the rest of the world.
Political action committee. That's what they are.
We make fun of them. We make fun of Comicsgate a lot.
They're an anti-union union.
They're very ridiculous, we think.
I really don't know what it means, in which that I have no idea. And when I look for interviews, I don't look if you're Comicsgate. I say, cool. Do you have an interesting book that we could have an interesting conversation about that I can effectively monetize one way or the other for my own personal business? That's really what it comes down to. So, EVS is a good example of that. EVS, if you can't monetize EVS, then you are doing something wrong. This is how you suck at marketing. You either within 5 minutes can monetize anything EVS touches for your own benefit, or you can't. And if you can't, or you don't know how to do it, you need to read a bunch of books on marketing, because that's the test. And it's nothing against EVS. It's the idea, though, that's what I look for. Same thing on the other side, which is liberal gates or liberal comics, which exists too. I mean, nobody talks about it, but it definitely exists, where it's on the other side, without a doubt. Again, I say, can I
I tend to think EVS is kind of on the liberal side as well.
Yeah, I think we've seen him even criticize, I think, a
how
very
else can you
ethical
explain him
capitalist.
removing all conservative creators from Comicsgate? Like, he did that.
Just recently, most of Comicsgate exists on Twitter and YouTube. And if you're not there chiming in, then you miss a lot of it. But there's been a lot of drama with Eric July and Ethan lately. But yeah, most recently, Ethan has been really coming down on some particular instance of an artist being paid an ownership percentage as opposed to a
I want to talk about
rate.
this too. I want to table this.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, go ahead.
I definitely want to talk about this, but before we get me completely canceled, I feel like
Sorry.
we should let Mike play the video because he's been waiting patiently.
Oh, yes.
I don't think you can hear the sound, Mike. Right?
How do you not hear the sound?
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah.
Hey, when that second song. Okay, yeah. No. Oh, well, that's okay.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. Ay, what you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean.
Some of the music isn't playing, but that's okay. Just show it. There you go. I only heard half the music, but that's okay.
So let's actually talk about that, because this is kind of the first thing that people will see. And I've heard this debate on both sides, where people say, I just have a killer image and I don't waste my time with the video because I don't find it working. And people also say, like, Mike Barron does great videos for his campaigns, and those videos are amazing. And I've heard people say, well, it's really important. And so what is this like? Because I don't know which is right. I don't. I have never, I did a Kickstarter for this show, but that's a different beast. Doing a Kickstarter for a podcast is very different than doing it for a comic book. It's the same platform, just a very different product. But what is that like? Because did you do one for boobs?
I did one for the first campaign. Yeah, not the second. I didn't have enough time. I wanted to.
I mean, I'm just curious because the video looks cool, and obviously, if somebody sees it, it's going to pique interest. I mean, it has to, but at the same time, I don't really know if it's the right way, if it's the wrong way, or if it's just somebody might feel comfortable. Says, I just want to put my best foot forward, and this can only help.
That's pretty much
Yeah,
what
I
it
mean,
is.
yeah. It's just if you can, if you can, then I think it helps. I've also seen videos that I didn't think were very good, and maybe that's just because I'm picky and I can make them myself. Maybe I'm extra picky, but I've thought, I could have done without that. But so I don't know. For us and our personal experience, I did one for Boobs 1. I didn't for Boobs 2. The campaigns made pretty close to the same amount of money. So it didn't really make a difference. But I know that people really enjoyed the Boobs 1 video. They got a kick out of that. And so if you can do it, then do it. Sure. Just try to do your best. Can only help.
Fair enough, fair enough. And now I really want to get to that EVS thing with the ownership. What was it, Yellow Flash?
Yes, it was just I was just trying to make a point on the ownership. Is that
this
not
is what I
necessarily
don't
a bad
understand. So sorry to cut you off. I don't even understand what was going on. I don't even know who Yellow Flash is.
No one does.
So I mean,
he's just on a YouTuber and an artist. Go ahead.
No. We know he's not Red Flash. We know he's not Blue Flash. We know he's not Green Flash. We know he's Yellow Flash. That's the only thing we know. If Yellow Flash wants to come on and Yellow Flash sees this, I'm more than happy to have a discussion with Yellow Flash as long as I get to be Red Flash. I just want to make that crystal clear. I am Red Flash during that conversation. Afterwards, I might be Wally West, but that's not the point. But anyway, what was that about? Because I saw this and I'm like, this is interesting. And my take of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, was EVS wanted to charge him X amount of money and then have a certain percentage of the sales that EVS brought in. And
I don't know exactly the details. Go ahead, sorry.
So, because I mean, I don't know if EVS is wrong though, but I also don't know if that's a functioning business model, because it almost seems like it's a back end deal that works if you're EVS or you're another top artist. But then again, what if EVS does a cover and that thing only sells $4? I mean, it seems like a very dangerous idea.
It could be. It really depends on, in my opinion, who you're doing business with. That's all. It could be bad. It could be really good. My point on it was just that I don't say, and I don't think that Ethan represents any sort of opposition to liberalism in a strong way. I think that thinking that he's the other side of that dichotomy, I think is wrong. He's just one person with his opinions. I think on the right side of things, in a capitalist way, I don't agree with him on that point. And I don't think it was him. I think that Yellow Flash was some YouTuber. His artist was Diller Draws, and they had some arrangement that Ethan exposed or something like that and monetized the heck out of it. But basically, I think the artist was offered either a page rate or 40% ownership. And that's just what the point was. When it comes to capitalism, I mean, have you wrestling merchandise contracts, artist royalties? Those can be very, very lucrative when done right. It just depends on who you're working with. If you're going to work with someone who doesn't put out the book, flops, the book never goes anywhere, the publishing company doesn't do anything with it, then you get 40% ownership of zero. But if you are going to go far, ownership can pay a lot more than page rates. So that was the only point I was making.
The reason why I bring this up is because I have been offered by people certain stakes in people's books. And the only thing I'm interested in your product in particular is television movie film rights. That's the only thing I care about. Because in reality, great, you sell 10,000 copies of your book over 10 years. What am I going to get? $100, maybe $200, $300 out of that when it's all said and done after expenses and everything else. So, but a TV right, That thing goes to TV. Guess who becomes an executive producer or a producer? You're looking at him, and then you get a producer fee and a producer credit. And then all of a sudden, when that episode airs, I get a piece of that. So that's my whole thing, is that, again, though, I'm looking at this stuff, and then, we're not talking large amounts of money. We're talking maybe $1,000, maybe 1,500 to buy. But are you really going to sell me your TV rights, or 25% or 40%? And that's where it gets complicated. And so, like, I don't have a problem with an artist wanting 20% of everything they bring in. I like those deals. I have no problem saying to everybody, I'll be like, potentially there might be a deal where I might bring in somebody advertisers, and I'm going to take 20% of every advertiser I bring in. And because
I mean, it's pretty common, I think, in the business world to those sorts of deals. Some artists even work out Kickstarter arrangements where they will take a percentage of the campaign, depending on how well it does. So, because if you're getting an artist rate, but then you make $1 million, but you did all the work, some people do work out those kinds of deals. It depends on you and your publisher and what you decide is good for yourself. So, yeah, exactly. I knew you'd be interested in that, which is why I brought it up, because you're into investing. So and I think we've talked about stuff like that before on your show.
For those who don't realize, last September, I actually bought a they broke up the rights to the Shrek music into shares. So somebody bought out a stake in the Shrek royalties, and they broke them all up into $10 shares. And so it's very interesting because I get a piece of that royalty. And so it can be done in a lot of ways. Theoretically, Eric July can make more money by breaking up the royalties on, what is it, ISOM or ISOM? If he could, which isn't actually that hard to do. All he would need to do is get SEC approval, Security Exchange Commission approval, and he could technically break up his book into a tradable stock if he really wanted to, which would be insane. I know exactly how to do it. So it's not unreasonable to figure this stuff out. And there's a lot more stuff that people can do. But like, I was very confused on that, because I'm like, what's going on here? Like, because this is crazy that he would charge $4,000 and then he wants like X amount of a book. But I don't know. Maybe it's not crazy. I don't know. I found the whole thing fascinating and very confusing, though. And this is where I feel comics is going, where I feel like there's a lot of confusion in the waters of comics right now. And there's a lot of infighting where nobody knows who's doing what, what's doing who, and what's actually been said and done, and even what arrangements are.
Yes. In the Broadway shows, the actors a few years ago that were starring in the original Broadway shows were actually advocating for ownership of the property because they would make more money. So yeah, it depends on who you're doing business with and who you are. I think that whole episode was just a monetization on Ethan's point. There's comments. You're going to address these comments? I don't know if he's even talking to Rob.
Oh, he's talking to us. He's talking about Indie Crowdfund.
How do you know?
It's one of our old trolls from a long time ago, probably. Or maybe a new troll that Larry sent over to say hi.
Oh. I didn't realize what he was talking about.
Oh,
Indie, is he talking about?
I didn't think it was relevant, and I still don't think it's relevant to what we're talking about now. So
it's not relevant.
I don't think so either. And Fund My Comic, you want to go talk?
Oh, did you fail that one try? Yeah, you want to talk about when I stubbed my toe as a child too? Yeah, let's go back in history. Oh yeah, I stubbed my toe and I fell on the ground and I didn't get back up. Dude, quit being gay.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that. You know, the McDonald's guys tried how many times before they came up with McDonald's, they were in the movie theater business.
How many times did Thomas Edison learn how not to make a light bulb? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
That's right.
Anyway.
People lost money from what I heard.
Your mom might have lost money from listening to your stupid ass.
Anyway.
No, nobody lost money. In fact, people made money on that site. So no, you can't go off of what you heard in comics. This is a gossip doesn't work. Gossip is destructive. We're not in high school. You have a question, just come on right over and ask.
Bring it,
We
man. I
were
don't
very
care.
transparent.
We'll talk. Hey, tell Larry to come here and ask for himself. I'm
Yeah.
sure we can drop a link. We'll have Larry on right now.
have
Talk
a
about how his
anyway,
mom's in the trailer house waiting on
getting
him
back,
to take over the
back
note.
to the comics
Yeah,
and
okay.
everything, because that's a
Sorry.
long history. Obviously, I've had both of you on talking about this, and I'm not interested in starting World War
No,
III.
you're not, Larry.
Well, okay, back to whatever trip story questions. Sorry, Andrew.
I actually do want to talk about comics in general, because this is one of the things that I think is interesting right now, is that comics has become a very interesting place right now. I feel, as far as what's being produced, what can be produced, the fact that gatekeeping has come down. And again, we look at a story like Trip Story, and nothing against Trip Story, but I don't think 5 years ago this book could have been made. I don't think that the infrastructure in comics was there. I don't think that the idea of even Kickstarter was at a healthy place. I think 5 years ago in comics, Kickstarter was not healthy. At least, I don't think Kickstarter in general was healthy 5 years ago, let alone in comics. And now it is a very viable market. So what is that like? Because, and nothing against the writing or the art or anything like that. Same thing with boobs. And there's a bunch of books like that. I mean, I can name a bunch of books. I think Paul Gomez's PTSD is another good example that has nothing to do with anything that's fun or comedy or dark comedy, whatever you want to call it. But obviously, and then there's some other stuff like Corey Hardyman, Sister Mercy, I don't think also could have been done 5 years ago. And all the 4 books I just mentioned are all different. So what is that like for you guys? Because I feel that the comic community on the indie front is much healthier than it was, 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago?
Well, I think it's because the mainstream is tossed to the side so many really good artists and writers that they would rather outsource their content now and pay peanuts instead of paying dollars. And that's opened up the door for all of these guys that are very talented to come in and say, hey, well, look what I can do, and flex out either on the cover or on the interiors with their words. And I mean, that's just going to continue. And I don't know if Disney, Marvel, DC, if they're doing it intentionally to destroy their properties or what, but I mean, there is so much good stuff in the indie sphere right now, and it's just going to continue to grow.
Yeah, I second that. It's definitely going to continue to grow. And I see new artists come in all the time, and I try to be better to them than people were when I came into the fold. People were really jerks, and it was so hard to get any sort of advice. Thank God I didn't make many mistakes. I think I was pretty solid in my moral compass, but these newer artists come in, and I think, like you said, how confusing and tribal it is. Tribal, they come in and they go, "What the heck is going on?" But it's changed so much in the past 5 years that they do have this whole like wave of inspiration. And they go, I can do this. I can create my own thing. I don't have to be dependent on this. And so I think, yes, it's only going to continue to grow. Like Mike said, more and more artists are coming in, and they're very inspired. So I think it will be a good thing.
I mean, this is my concern, and I'm curious how you two are going to react to it. Is that I agree. I think there's more talent. I think there's more people who say, look, there's less gatekeeping. I don't need to go to DC or Marvel. I don't need to submit my portfolio. I don't need to work for peanuts. I don't need to get the shit kicked out of me and hope I get a job and then get destroyed. Now I can do this on my own. But I also think there's a lot of optimism. And I say this in the nicest way possible, where, great, you come in, and I think there's a lot of people who have no fucking clue what it takes to produce a book. Because you got to write or draw a story. Then you got to figure out what covers you want. Then you got to figure out, how am I going to get the money to either get all the art done, and then I just want to recruit printing, and it's an investment, and then 4, 5, 6 books later, I'm going to get my money back, and it's a long game. Or conversely, they say, how the hell am I going to print this thing? And then they realize really quickly, and then I feel like a bunch of them burn out. And I think
step one is making the book. That's step one. And a lot of people can't get past step one.
Did you see that
That's
meme?
really what it is.
It's this guy open a book, How to Make Comics, and he reads the book and it says, "Make a comic book," and then he cries. Because yes, a lot of people, even the pros, even people who've been at this for many, many years, still, I mean, what Liefeld even isn't he like 35K owed to backers on a book he didn't deliver? And how long has he been working in comics? So yeah, it's a different animal to do it all yourself. Not everybody can do it.
I mean, let me throw something out to YouTube because I have a different reaction, but I don't want to tell you my reaction. I backed the project. And I don't have a problem saying who it is. It's Ryan Cummings' Fever. So Ryan was supposed to fund a graphic novel. He raised $9,000 to do a 144 page graphic novel. I'm gonna take a leap of faith here, and you guys should tell me that I'm wrong if I am. $9,000 to do a 144 page graphic novel is not enough.
No,
It's not enough. I mean,
it's not.
I'm taking a spec on that argument by far, right? I'm being facetious, everybody. I'm being facetious for a reason. So then he decided to say, cool. He basically said, my artist ran away with the money. Whether that's true or not, it's irrelevant, because he then said, I'm going to go break this up into 3 issues and give all the people who backed the graphic novel a copy of issue 1, 2, and 3 when they fund on Kickstarter. That book was supposed to be in my hands in May of 2022. We are now in 2024, January 16th. So first and foremost, I mean, just the facts of this is that you changed the goal completely, and now you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole by doing another Kickstarter.
So the thing is, you got to take into consideration, like, what are you going to pay per page? I mean, the average artist rate's about $100 per page. I can say that. I don't care. That's what it is. So, I mean, you're looking at a 140-page graphic novel. That's 140 pages at $100 a page. So that's $14K.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just for the interiors. And then you're going to pay $80 a page for coloring. And that's best. That's like pretty good rates for coloring. And then you're going to pay $25 a page for lettering. And then you have artists that are going to charge you on the covers anywhere between $150 to $800, depending on who it is.
Yep. That at
and then you have print costs. And then after the print costs, you have shipping costs. And then you have bags and boards, shipping supplies. All of that stuff adds up. So you're looking at a 140-page graphic novel. Like, your minimum goal should be around $20K. I don't know how you're going to do it any other way. And that's breaking.
This is what I think happened. I don't know if his artist ran away with the money. It could be. That's not unheard of. It happens all the time. So I'm willing to give Ryan the benefit of the doubt on that point. What I'm not willing to give Ryan the benefit of the doubt on is you gave your artist all the money up front. That was your error. And this is my reaction. My reaction is the following, is that you made a bonehead mistake by giving somebody all the money up front. Now, if they are a co-owner, that's a little bit different in that circumstance when somebody's a co-owner of something.
Even with Trey, man, we trusted Trey completely, and we would make him turn in 4 pages, and I'd only pay him for 4 pages at a time.
So if I had a co-owner and a co-partner, and he needed merch, and I had the merch, but we both funded the merch and he was going to a con, I would give him cash equivalency, because if I give him $150 for the con and they're just in my, garage, that's cash equivalency, but he's a co-owner. It's a little bit different. But the point is that with this, the way I feel is that this is fraud, what Ryan did, because now you moved the goalpost. Where I was promised a graphic novel, and now you turned it into a single issue and 3 single issues. If I wanted 3 single issues, I would have bought 3 single issues. And Kickstarter says goals and rewards aren't guaranteed. But wait a second. This is a big problem. And I called it 2-3 years ago. I said there's going to be a point where a person doesn't fund what they need on A, then they go to B funds A, then they run C, and then C needs D to fund it, and then eventually D, E, and F don't even fund C. And there you go. And this is what's happening. And I think Ryan and his book Fever is a perfect example. And here's the kicker. The kicker is that I think he did Bastard Queen or Reign of the Bastard Queen that did like 22,000. I think the first one did 15,000. I think the second one did 19,000. And that's the kicker while this book is in delay. So that's my problem. And so I am very upset, and it makes me want to stop and not be on Kickstarter because it only takes one. And so that's my biggest problem with Kickstarter right now is I think more of that is going to happen in the next 2 years.
It's possible. But
Yeah.
I mean, you also have to, like, you got to do your due diligence when you're screwing with other people. You know what I mean? You got to know who you're buying from. And I mean, we have a rule, like, our books are 100% done before we even launch the Kickstarter. Like, that's it. Like, they're done, ready to go to print, and then we launch. That's the only way we do it.
Yep.
And if you
Sans
can't take that responsibility and come out of pocket and believe in your own stuff first without using other people's money to fund your fucking project, I mean, because that's what you're doing. You're like, you have to be a steward of everyone else's money. That's what it is. You have to be a good steward. You have to be a fiduciary. They are trusting you. They're saying, I believe in you so much, and I love your stuff so much, I will let you hold my money until I get my book. So if you're going to press that launch button, you need to be damn sure that you can put that book in the hands of people. Because if you can't, you shouldn't hit launch. Your shit should be 100% done before you even do it. And that's my mentality on it. I know some people disagree and they're like, oh, well, you know, I want to be paid for the next year while I twiddle my thumbs and talk on a live stream about Star Wars and spend 3 years not drawing Cyberfrog. Like, there's that out there. But I mean, there's such a better way. You can be on time and on budget if you know how to handle your money and run your business right. It's not hard.
And that's where I recommend people go and look at if they have run a campaign on Kickstarter, look at the updates and look at the comments. Someone like Cyberfrog, you know, Ethan, you can go on his campaign and he has like hundreds of comments of bad reviews on his Rainbow the Brute and whatever other books he hasn't filled because he's 3 and 4 years late. And other people too, you can go to their Kickstarters, you can read the comments, and you can see, oh, this person is a problem. And unfortunately, with a new creator, you're not going to get that assurance. But
so with Ryan, and the reason why I bring it up with Ryan is Ryan had 3 massively successful campaigns before this. So I do my due diligence. He was interviewed on my show. I was very excited. And then I still got screwed. And so I've had people not deliver and just ghost. Ryan didn't ghost. Ryan moved a goalpost. That's a much larger cardinal sin, in my opinion. If you promise me product A and you advertise product A and you say, I'm going to go and dig myself out of a hole and change the product type and hope that issue 1 funds and I have enough money to do it, issue 2 funds and I have enough money to do it, and issue 3 funds. And how do I say to Kickstarter, I didn't get my issue from issue 1 because I'm a legacy backer on that other issue. There is zero recourse. So everybody who's a legacy backer because of Ryan on that thing, even if it works out perfectly, is at the mercy of him because he's changed and he's eliminated the fiduciary, as you said. And that's why it's problematic. And there's an argument to be made that should this be reported to the AG of Michigan where he lives? Because seriously, this is a real fraudulent issue. And it's a very, very scary position. And I think if that actually happened, it might terrify the fuck out of people for not delivering their projects. If there was a real criminal position on this, it might terrify. And I got a feeling that if this happens enough, either people in Kickstarter will have to regulate or the comic community will have to regulate, or the government will regulate. And that will be a disaster for Kickstarter.
Not for us, because our books are 100% done.
That's
That'd be
the only thing I would
I'm
ask.
all for that.
Yeah, I have to agree with Mike. That would just be better for us because we actually deliver. But I would suggest have you asked him? Have you asked him to do a graphic novel specifically and express that to him?
I mean, I've asked, and he doesn't have an answer because I don't think he has the capital to do anything. And knowing what's going to happen is that book is going to fail. That first issue is going to fail, no question about it. He's not going to have enough money to do it because he needs double what he's going to be asking for on his initial campaign, and he already had 248 backers. And that's 248 backers who are getting an issue 1. And so why would I want a second issue of your book? And that's his problem. His problem, he needed to say, my artist stole my money and here's what we're going to do. And he needed somebody to figure out his problem quickly. But again, it's $30. I just view it as a warning. And he should be a case study for this. And that's the lesson. Me teaching everybody in Kickstarters and every new backer and every professional backer, for lack of a better word, that this is what you need to look for because it could happen to everybody. He is a prime example of it could happen to everybody. But I digress. I was just curious what your thoughts are.
Maybe a good common sense thing is to, when you go to back something, look at what they're asking for in their goal and how much they got funded and how big their book is and do the math. And if it's totally not feasible, then beware.
Well, that's, I don't agree with that either, because we set our goal at $100. So, I mean, obviously
that's why I said
that's not feasible.
Right.
I mean, we tanked close to 7,000 in this book.
Yeah, 6 maybe. So around there, 6 or 7.
But we put our goal at $100 because the book's done. It's done.
I didn't say
to go to print. So what we get is what we
yes.
get. You know what I mean? And whether we win, lose, draw, pull for the next one, whatever, it doesn't matter because it's still got to get out there. And we'll still be able to either use that money to buy extra issues to take to shows to retail, or something's going to come out of it. You know what I mean? It's not like, even if we don't make 7,000, or if we do make over that, it's not a loss because you still have X numbers of backers, and we're still making enough to where we can get a print run out of it and produce enough books to take to shows and retail out. And that's the goal. You can't just stop and think, okay, well, it's all about Kickstarter and these are the only people that I have to sell to. It's like, what are you going to do after that? Kickstarter is a launching point. It's not a retail shop. It's not for you to retail your book to consumers. It's for you to get enough money to create a print run, and then the retailing is up to you. The promotion is up to you on your website, at your shows you go to. How many tables are you willing to throw down, and how much effort are you willing to put in it, standing behind that table selling your fucking product? This isn't a retail shop. This is a launching pad.
There's a great episode on Shark Tank. A guy did, I think, $160,000 selling bed sheets and shirts on Kickstarter. And Mr. Wonderful said, how can I evaluate your business? Because Kickstarter is its own little retail sector. And Every time I speak to everybody on comics, I say, look, you did great. You did 20,000 on Kickstarter. That doesn't tell me anything except that you did 20,000 on Kickstarter. It's kind of like you went to a charity auction. That doesn't tell me the value of the item. It just tells me that you bought a really cool item and you're a generous person. That's all it tells me. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I can't properly assess something because I'm willing to spend more money on Kickstarter than I would at a comic shop for a certain item. So if I'm willing to buy a book from you guys for $40, I might not spend $40 at a comic shop for that same item. Right. I might only spend $30. And so there's nothing wrong with that.
Converse is also true. To even bolster your point, Andrew, you can make $200,000 on Kickstarter and then go to a show and not make your goddamn table back, because the people who actually read the comics aren't going to buy your shit. The only people that bought your shit was your fucking friends. There's that too.
Or conversely, you found all your readers, and all your readers are on Kickstarter, and you miraculously found your community, and your community's not that show. That could also just be more positive about it. So
there's several aspects to it. So I mean, it's not just cut and dry. Kickstarter is the win all be all. You have to have a plan for your product and your market and your brand going forward. You can't just rely on that.
Yeah, Mike and I have been talking a lot about this lately because we want to start going back to shows. So, and we used to travel to shows full time. That's what we did. But then the shows took a tank, and we stopped, and I was pregnant, and I'm glad because we got out of it, luckily, right before COVID, like 2 or 3 years before COVID. So we were fine. A lot of people really hurt that year, but we were okay. But we'd like to do it again. It's just that boobs, like Mike said, boobs isn't one you can just put on your table everywhere. So Trip Story and this year we're coming out with more books that are more versatile for
our
tables.
Next title, G-Busters. It's a Ghostbusters parody. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, and that's because we want to go to shows, is we miss it, and it was
I'll
fun,
tell you the concept.
and we did well.
4 hot girls get together. One of them, Katie, inherits the Playboy mansion from her Uncle Hef. They have to suck and screw their way through the story in order to find, and I'll leave it there.
That was your first elevator pitch publicly. Very good.
No sponsor into this show. Clearly, I'm gonna have no sponsors. It's all right. But I'm gonna have views. I can tell you this is going to be viewed massively by a bunch of people when I push this out all over the internet. I don't know how many friends I'm going to have left. I'm sure there's quite a few people in my DMs right now saying, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Man, the end of the book is great too. The grotto opens up and the earth starts shaking, and it's just fantastic. Oh, you're gonna love it.
The art is gonna be sick too.
Luckily, Pocket Jacks paid till June up front, so I think they're okay. I think that see, I've learned that lesson too, is that get your sponsor to pay up front. And this way, if they're angry with you at the end of it, you say, well, you did pay up front, so good luck. But anyway, enough about that. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be canceled, and but I'm okay with this. I am perfectly fine with everything. Again, my next guest, which is Stokes the writer, that's going to be fun too. So this is no shy night. This is like fight night. It's great. But anyway, I do want to give you a chance to promote. Where can people find you? Where can people appreciate Trip Story? Where can people back it? I'm excited to read it, and so all that fun stuff.
Cool. Yeah, you can find us at divinitycomics.com. Also, we have a huge promotional machine called Comics Illustrated. It's an indie news magazine, comes out monthly. That's right. You can come out with something monthly and be indie. Check that out. I know a lot of guys don't do it, but we do. And then we also have a Trip Story live on Kickstarter right now. It's a fantastic, epic, weed-filled adventure full of toys and yeah, go pledge, buy a cool cover, and hang out.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Boobs 2, by the way, is at 95 or 96% fulfilled. I have 10 sketches left, and I'm working. They're sitting over there. Some of them are about halfway through, and I plan on finishing one tonight. So once those wrap up in the next week here, then that will be 100% fulfilled. Yay! So that's 5 books we have fulfilled and put out. The Boobs 1, Boobs 2, and October, November, December of Comics Illustrated since last May. Woohoo! So we're on a roll.
And January goes out in the hands of readers next week.
Yep, yeah. Printing started and probably finished yesterday. So then we have the winter special of that printed with that. So that will be fulfilled
Ooh.
shortly.
And for any aspiring indie creators out there, we are doing our second quarterly special in March. It's going to be called the Spring Fling. You can enter at any time. 2 characters in a romantic pose gets you in the book.
Yep. Well, thanks for having us on, Andrew.
Oh, I'm going to promote myself now.
Okay.
It is my show, and I do need to promote myself. So obviously, for those who don't know, I'm obviously Andrew Davis. You can come find me on the internet. I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. So you type in Pop Anime Comics, I will probably appear. Obviously, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff. On eBay, I am Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And as I did say, I bought this in hollow foil. There are 15 of them. I bought out the print run completely of that book. So you do need to buy it from me if you want that in hollow foil. It's My Hero Academia. And if you know anything about that character, she is a fighter. Let's just leave it at that. And what she goes through is hell. Amazing character. And I love her so much. Mirko from My Hero Academia. If you know anything about her, oh my God, just the end of that series and her. Oh, that amazing, just amazing. But it's gonna look beautiful in hollow foil. That's gonna look beautiful in hollow foil. And I did it again. Technically, this was the first one I did. I bought this one also in hollow foil, all 15 of them. So again, I do carry a lot of exclusive merch. I also sometimes get ones-of-ones of books. So that's something to keep out on the lookout. I am looking for $300 to $400 for the ones-to-ones. So keep that in mind, because when I do pull that stuff and I do get that stuff in my store, it is super expensive. So that's something to keep in mind. And then I got a bunch of other cool stuff in there, and you never know, it's going to walk into my store at any given point, whether it's baseball cards, cool comics, cool Pokemon cards, cool Pop Funkos, some other cool stuff that I got out there. So
you know what?
What?
I think we should get him 5 cracked ice of a Trip Story cover of his choice for his store.
Cracked ice is really pretty. That was amazing. We did one for Boobs too. It looks awesome. It's over here somewhere, but that's too much of a hassle to get it. We'll send you a picture later. Yeah, cracked ice is hot. It's very pretty.
Maybe. I mean, I got to stabilize my business first and foremost, but we'll figure that out later. But again, I carry a lot of exclusive merch, and it's one of those things that if you're looking for rare books, I got you covered. But more importantly, I appreciate when people just subscribe to the YouTube channel, support the show, watch the show, share it out. And I got a lot of content coming out every day. And I've been saying this for years, and I'm going to keep on saying it. I cannot promise that I will make you smarter. But what I can promise you is that I will at least entertain you. And so on that note, I'm going to give either one of you who wants the final word the final word.
Don't be gay.
And there goes my sponsor.
Cheers!
And that is a wrap.